Let's talk about autos. The May auto sales are a mixed bag because while M&M, Eicher and TVS Motors outshone the rest of the pack, the ones that have come out with bad numbers have actually disappointed quite a bit. The good news though is that tractor sales have improved in May as well, maybe pointing to decent rural growth. Puneet breaks down the numbers for us.
So definitely more, it's kind of in a very mixed bag state, but a lot of companies have done well, which have done very, very well. But some like Tata Motors have really underperformed, and that's why we're calling it a mixed bag. But when you look at the two-wheeler makers, specifically TVS continues this very strong growth momentum, 17% YOY growth, and it's actually beaten estimates as well, led by the export market as well. The other key winner in the two-wheeler pack is, of course, Eicher Motors, a 26% growth in this particular month. Over the last 6 months, the company changed its strategy to focus on every month with increasing sales of over 80,000. They're now clocking almost 90,000 in sales and beating estimates again. The other two, when you look at Hero as well as Bajaj Auto, has been a slow month for Hero, while the month-on-month recovery is very strong. Specifically, YOY is just a 2% growth, and that is underscoring the slower growth in the entry-level segment. While for Bajaj as well, the domestic growth was only 2%, but the export growth was 19%, and hence the overall growth of 8% in terms of two-wheeler volumes. When you look at the passenger vehicles, again, it's quite a similar strategy to last month, where we spoke like Tata Motors. When you look at the four-wheeler space, if you can move on to the next graphic, it's down 11% on a YOY basis, and here is the key issue, because the company, despite launching a couple of new models in the smaller segment of Altroz and Tiago, it's not been able to gain market share in this particular time frame. But when you look at M&M, the story is completely different. Strong growth again in this particular year, up 21%, and it's actually beaten estimates. So the numbers, of course, this is for specifically for PV, and this number also includes LCV as well. That's why the divergence, but largely a very, very strong growth for the company. Finally, in terms of Maruti Suzuki and Hyundai, Maruti, of course, saving grace based on the export market of the company. Very, very strong growth in the export market, but the domestic again has been very, very slow for the company in this month. Rural sales haven't picked up yet, and that's visible in the numbers. While for Hyundai, it's 3% fall in terms of sales estimate, and here again the domestic market is actually down 11%. Finally, in terms of tractors and commercial vehicles in CV, let's look at commercial vehicles first specifically. For Tata Motors, again in the CV space, it's nothing too much to talk about. It's 14th month where the companies reported either flat or negative growth. But for VECV, which is the commercial vehicle arm of Eicher Motors, continuing its very strong momentum upwards of 7%. They've also mentioned new launches as well as increasing the small commercial vehicle segment has bode well for the company. And finally, in terms of Ashok Leyland as well, this might be, the stock might not be reacting that much today, but really strong growth because the MHCV sales have grown in at high single digit for the company. Overall, the small commercial vehicle segment is still showing some weakness, but the market will take this number with both hands. And in tractors, Escorts, while showing some growth in this particular month, has largely been slower. But Mahindra and Mahindra in the tractor space have continued a 10% growth in this particular month. For Escorts as well, they are more present in the northern belt, which is growing slightly slowly, but still showing at least a 1% growth. So overall, the three key winners will be Mahindra, Eicher, as well as TVS. And a surprise will largely be Ashok Leyland based on the MHCV sales.
In fact, we caught up with Nalinikant Golagunta, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Mahindra Automotive, who is confident of having a strong growth this month. He also said that they are confident about sustaining the growth in FY26. Listen in.
So it's been a strong month for us, both on the SUV side, also on the LCV less than 3.5 ton. We did about 21% growth on the SUVs and about 8% growth on the LCV side. So strong month for us. The way I would put it is the demand for the portfolio continues to be quite strong. I think customers continue to find strong value proposition with the brands that we're putting it out there. And in some ways, that's held us in good stead over the past few quarters, I would say. So in May, in the analyst meet, we put out an expectation that our SUV volume growth for the year will be in the mid to high teens. So we are optimistic that we'll be able to measure up to that number and high single digits for SUV under 3.5 tons. So again, we're quite optimistic on that front as well. And with these kind of numbers, of course, the main numbers for the other OEMs have not come out yet, but we are confident that this would be market-leading growth yet again.
Okay, so that's, of course, with regard to auto, and more, in fact, coming through with regard to auto. You've got Elon Musk